Morning, everyone. Um, I've been having a swirl of thoughts this morning, and it stemmed from a pretty vivid dream. I guess we're all having a bit more of those these days, for some reason. But as I woke up, just kind of frazzled by it all, I felt this message from it that I think might resonate with a lot of you, and particularly those in my generation, or those younger, those of us who are kind of exploring the world and trying to figure out what all of this means within all of this existing culture and social rules and authorities, and I just wanted to dive in a little bit. So, for some of you who may not know, I did musical theater and plays for many, many years growing up, for about 12 years or so. And a big chunk of that came when I was in high school. And we did a fall play and a spring musical every year. And they were really great productions. We had wonderful directors, great bands. I mean, they were really wonderful. I had a chorus teacher who also was our music director for those shows, who was very strict, but she had a lovable and a sweet side as well. And kind of going through high school, I wanted good roles. I wanted to curry good favor with her so that she wouldn't yell at me. So there was a lot of this approval seeking, or kind of putting on a different face in front of her at times. And it's funny because last night I had this dream where I was back in high school, except I was a director this time. We were doing some sort of show, kind of had like a Middle Eastern Prince of Egypt flair to it. I don't really remember. But my old director was there, and she was in some sort of like supporting role, or like assistant directing, music directing, and just kept undermining me. And this is in the dream, but she kept calling me out and saying things. And after a while, I just stopped what we were doing in rehearsal, and I just told her off, and got her to leave. She was in the dream. She was riling me up that much, and no one could believe it because she'd been there for years. She had all this knowledge, all this power, all this authority, all this credibility, and I told her to go, and she left. And the last image I have in the dream is the cast just kind of staring, just kind of cold and open, and not really sure what to do. And so I woke up from that because our dog, our puppy Hakeem, he was barking, he needed to go out, and that's kind of my alarm these mornings. It was just such a pronounced feeling of what did I do in that dream, and what am I feeling right now? And as I was walking my dog this morning, I kept going back to that. I was like, I told off this this authority figure, someone I respected, but someone who I had to hide from. And I think there's a lot to be said about how we, and particularly how younger generations are going about seeking approval, in unconscious ways, even obeying authorities. I mean, look at what we're doing with COVID-19. We're trusting older generations, baby boomer and older, to set the rules, to set the guidelines, to set the recommendations. We trust in their knowledge. We're trusting their experience in a lot of ways. And in some ways, we're finding out, week to week, month to month, that, they're getting it wrong with certain rules or with certain predictions. And that's okay. It's okay to get things wrong. But we, as younger generations coming out in the world, who have gone through the Great Recession 10 years ago, and now we're and now we're in the middle of another one because of this crisis. We have a responsibility to look at ourselves, and regardless of what the authority figures in our life are saying to us, how are we going to show up, and how am I going to not need that approval anymore, not need to obey just so I don't get yelled at, or even how we're designing our lives. I mean, we're going to be coming out of this quarantine, and who knows when we come back in. But things are not going to go back to normal, and certain milestones and certain goals we have in our life that were created by these social rules, whether it's getting married, and some people have had to delay marriages. I have friends who've had to do that. Whether it's having kids, getting a home, some of these old structures of what we're supposed to be doing, I think we're in a position to really question this seriously for the first time. What is our responsibility to ourselves and the human species globally when we're thinking about what we want in life and how we want to advance in life, and not needing to live by previous generations' rules and expectations for ourselves, whether that's in the workplace, in maybe how professionalism shows up and how we need to code ourselves and hide aspects of our personality to fit in, whether it's the pressure to get married and have a family and own a home and go into debt and do what our parents' generation did. There's so much that I think we unconsciously do because our parents and our grandparents and our mentors and teachers told us to do things that we really need to look at and question. So I'm not here to say, rebel against the old, the old guard, the rules that our parents and authorities have set. This is just a suggestion, and this is something that I know I need to do a better job of in my life, but really step out into our own paths, go into the unknown. It's one thing to say, oh, look at how good my parents had it, so I'm going to do what they did, and if that's your choice, that's your choice. Just understand that you might be hiding aspects of your true self. You might not find the fulfillment and joy that you're really seeking because of what this world and its opportunities really offer to you. On the same time, you can't just rebel against society's rules or expectations for us, because then we're just being a counter to it. And we're not really going by our own rules, we're just doing the opposite of what other people have said. So there's this middle course that I think is going to take a lot of courage and boldness and a pioneering spirit to really go into and say, what are the rules I want to make? And what are the expectations I want to set for myself? I mean, growing up, I had, go to college, get a good job, get married, get a house, and contribute to your community. And again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with any of that, but I think about where I was and where I am now, and a small white kid from Connecticut coming down to DC, having those expectations, and over the course of 10 years being down here, still renting, still have a good job, but I'm in a relationship with a man who's black, who's from the South, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do in our relationship, but just that alone, I think, confounds the expectations internally I had of myself and where I would be at this point. And some of that's scary because, this is what I should be doing. But we really have to drop the shoulds. Those internal critics of where we ought to be, we got to give ourselves a break. We got to stop seeking approval and alignment with that inner critic, with those external voices of what society says is good for us, and really follow the path and the intuition into the unknown, into things that don't look familiar to us. And in that space, I think there's a lot of power and a lot of freedom and a feeling of, no, this is right, even if I don't have the end destination in mind. And this relationship that I've been in for the last 2 years has been absolute joy. It's been challenging at times, but good challenge, really testing what I believe in, what I value, and even thinking about, what I want to do long term in my career. Like, I'm not going to stay in my nonprofit job forever, and I think that's okay. But letting go of those expectations of what it means to be in a career, what it means to own things, the kinds of relationships we're supposed to be in, the types of expectations we're supposed to have, it all comes down to these very unconsciously rooted forms of approval seeking. So, my suggestion and something I'm gonna ask of all of us is let it go. Let go of that need to get approval from someone else of what you do and what you prioritize. So I just want to leave you there. The dream last night really kind of threw me, but the more I thought about it, it really crystallized into this point, into this message. And so I'm gonna be making some more videos for all of you, just as I reflect and really come down to what's valuable to me coming out of this quarantine, and that I don't want to go back to normal. I don't want to go back to how things were. I want to chart new paths and new directions based on my own value system, my own priorities, and what brings me and the people I love joy. And I challenge all of you to do the same. So cheers, have a wonderful morning, and I'll see you soon.